Today's episode is brought to you by Proud Wolves. It is Proud Wolves' mission to make sure children all over the world have free access to cultural activities and sport. Proud Wolves helps organizations to change their income models and stops them relying on membership fees for children. Find Proud Wolves on Facebook for more information. Now, get ready for your All-NBA Team of the Week. Goeiedag, enchantée, and welcome to this week's episode of A24 Presents All-NBA Team of the Week. With the All-Star Game only 3 weeks away and the starters being announced in less than a week, we wanted to honor some of the players that have been putting All-Star performances on the court, but will most likely be snubbed for an All-Star selection by the fans. All season long, these players have been winning games for their teams, but they're either looked at as a number 2 on their team, or they're up against more popular players on their position around the league. Guys like Nikola Vucevic, who had a fantastic week for the Orlando Magic with 2 double-doubles and 42 points against the Kings, only one under his career high that he set only last week against the Bulls. Vucevic is hot right now, but he's up against Embiid, Giannis, KD for a spot on the front court in the East. Right now, he's not even in the fans' top 10. Someone else in a very similar position is Mike Conley Jr. of the Jazz. Conley has been the best player on the Jazz. In fact, he's leading the whole league in plus-minus, but he's only the third guy on the team behind Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Like every year, Mike will likely not make it to the All-Star game at all, and he will be going down in history as the best player never to make it to an All-Star game. Once the coaches have had their say, our 5 picks should be selected as reserves on the teams, and rightly so. Get ready for our All-NBA Team of the Week. Our first pick of the week is Trae Young, All-Star guard of the Atlanta Hawks. Last year, the fans voted him as the starter on the East team, even though the Hawks were dead last in the East. This season, the Hawks are floating around the playing game position 7 and 10, but Trae has dropped to the 6th spot among the fans. Trae's numbers were already impressive last year, but they're even better this year. He's shooting less, but at a higher percentage, getting to the line more often, where he's almost perfect, and he's dishing out assists left, right, and center. He loves to find his buddies John Collins and Clint Capella for the alley-oop, or draws in the defense on a splitting drive and throws it out for an easy 3. For opposing teams, the task is simple. Keep Trae out of the game, because without him, the Hawks struggle. The Hawks front office did their homework in the offseason. They added experienced veterans around their young core with sharpshooters Danilo Gallinari and Bogdan Bogdanovic, and 2-time NBA champion Rajon Rondo. Especially the Bogdan signing was a huge win for the Hawks after the Bucks fumbled on that trade. The Hawks started the season as an outsider in the Eastern Conference. They have some building to do. The new players have to fit into the rotation, but everyone expected the Hawks to do great things. Then reality set in. Rondo and Gallinari are older guys, and both struggling with injuries. Both of them have only played in half of the games this season, and when they do, they don't make it past 20 minutes a game. Bogdanovic has been out since early January, and there's been no update on his return so far. And injuries are not the only problem in Atlanta. Earlier in the season, there were reports that stars Collins and Young are not getting along off the court. Collins failed to come to an agreement with the front office for a contract extension and might be on the trading block. If that's the case, the Hawks will struggle to get to the playoffs, because their best minutes are when both Young and Collins are on the court. Hopefully they'll figure it out quickly, because someone of Young's talent deserves to be in the playoffs and in the All-Star game. Our second pick of the week is Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are a very similar story to the Hawks in the Western Conference, but more successful. In the offseason, they added Chris Paul, maybe the best point guard to have ever played in the league. Wherever Paul goes, the team plays better. He has a way of lifting his teammates to higher levels and gets them to mirror his approach to the game. Even though he has never won a championship, he's one of the most sought-after veterans to teach new guys the business that the NBA is. Back to Booker. Book is one of the most prolific scorers in the league. He can score from anywhere, at any time, and he's only getting better. During his rookie year, Booker had the chance to play with the great Kobe Bryant during his farewell tour. They went head-to-head one time during the 2016 season, and Booker outscored his idol 28 points to 17. After the game, Kobe spent some time talking to Booker, and he ended up signing his shoes. Kobe wrote, "Be legendary," a phrase that has stayed with Booker ever since, and it has been the foundation of his career. Booker's numbers keep going up every year, but he rarely gets the recognition for it. He was a prime example of a good player with great stats on a bad team. Empty stats, they call it. He only made the All-Star team last year as a last-minute call-up for the injured Damian Lillard. This year is different. With the Chris Paul addition, the Suns are in 4th spot in the West, leading the pack of second-tier contenders. Book is by far the main man on the team, guiding the Suns to much-deserved victories. They are currently on a 4-win streak, with Booker scoring over 30 points in his last 2 games. Yet he will be snubbed for the All-Star team again. In the West, there are only 3 guards that really count: Curry, Doncic and Lillard, with all 3 having at least 2 million fan votes. Number 4, Donovan Mitchell, can't even crack 500,000. Book, just like Trae Young, is currently sitting in 6th spot and would need to rely on the coaches to get him into this year's selection. Before we move on, I'd like to talk to you about A24. A24 was created by proud Wolves with the intention to provide children with an opportunity to learn and play basketball at their own pace and completely free. A24 created different courses to improve your basketball skills that are available on the website, but our real mission is to help disadvantaged children by building and upgrading basketball courts around the world, and to give them basketball gear to play with. Come and find our website, and please buy a t-shirt to support our cause. Now back to All-NBA Team of the Week. Our third pick of the week is Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat. The Heat started the season really slow. Coming off the finals against the Lakers, they were really banged up and had the least amount of time to prepare for this season. The front office didn't make many changes either, as they were hoping that Giannis would become available and they wanted to keep some cap space. 8 games in, the Heat were 4-4 and everything seemed to be going to plan. Then they lost Jimmy for 10 games and only managed to win twice. Since Jimmy came back, the Heat are 5-2 and sit in 9th, enough for the playing game, but they have their eyes set on a spot within the top 6. Jimmy has never been considered a superstar. He was a superstar in the making while he was at the Bulls, but it never eventuated. He had a rough few years between leaving the Bulls and getting Miami to the NBA Finals, with unsuccessful stops in Minnesota and Philly. Since signing in Miami, he's been playing like a true superstar, carrying the whole team on his back last season. First, he carried them to the bubble, then to the NBA Finals. His body's tired from last season, you can see it. But in this last week, he's returning back to his normal level. In the doubleheader against the Knicks, he fell just short of a triple-double in both games, but he got it done against the Rockets on Thursday. His numbers are better than last season, across the board, except for his 3-pointers, but he was never a big shooter anyway. Besides, the Heat have Robinson and Hero to take those shots. One of the most interesting conspiracy theories in the league has it that Butler could be the illegitimate son of Michael Jordan. Since making his way to Miami, he's playing like he could be. Now that Miami is slowly returning to last year's form, Butler and his teammates have their eyes set on the playoffs. Nobody expects them to repeat their impressive run of last year, but Jimmy Buckets won't be happy with anything less. Last year, Butler made it back to the All-Star game, something he hadn't done since his stint at the Bulls. He deserves to be there again this year, even though he missed half of the game so far this season. He'll just miss out on the fan vote. He's currently sitting in 5th in the Eastern Conference frontcourt list, but maybe the coaches will give him a well-deserved selection. Our fourth pick of the week is Khris Middleton of the Milwaukee Bucks, the most underestimated number 2 in the league. Middleton has proven to be an extremely reliable teammate for Giannis, the Greek freak, but he came up short last year in the playoffs when Giannis missed a few games against the Heat. That had to be his moment to show the world that he's a fantastic number 2, maybe even more, but it wasn't meant to be. But we can't forget that they came up against a very impressive Miami Heat team. Middleton is judged harshly by the American media, and the only reason behind it, as far as I'm concerned, is that he is an unpretentious player in a very dull and small market. Middleton ended up in Milwaukee after his rookie season in Detroit. Alongside 2 other guys, he was traded to the Bucks in return from Brendan Jennings, a fantastic young guard that lost his way after his first season in Detroit and never fulfilled expectations. 7 years later, the Bucks clearly won that trade. Middleton has slowly improved each season and is now irreplaceable in the Bucks starting 5. He has made the All-Star game in the last 2 years, but it looks like it could get difficult for him this season, even though he has been more important to the Bucks than Giannis. He's not in the fans' top 10, so he needs the coaches to get him in this selection. The Bucks have a problem, a good problem. Their superstar Giannis is stepping up on big moments, wanting to take the winning shot, just like those other superstars that dominate the game. That's what he did against the Suns on Wednesday. The Bucks were down 1 with less than 3 seconds on the clock. The inbound pass finds Giannis, who pulls up for a fadeaway jumper from around the free throw line, but he bricks it. In the right corner, Khris Middleton was wide open for an easy shot. Obviously, Giannis is a winner, and he wants to take his responsibility. But it is time that the world, including his teammate, start to see the value of Khris Middleton. In my humble opinion, that will be the difference between winning or losing a championship for the Bucks. The 5th pick in this week's team is Rudy Gobert from the Utah Jazz. The 2-time Defensive Player of the Year is averaging a double-double for the season so far, with 14 points and over 13 rebounds a game. Besides Jokic, he's the best true big man in the Western Conference, and is incredibly important to his teammates, grabbing rebounds and setting screens. The Jazz shoot more threes than anyone else in the league, and having someone as Gobert grabbing the offensive rebounds, almost 4 per game, allows them to keep shooting. Yet, Gobert isn't in the top 10 of fan voting. He's up against some of the best players in the league for a spot on the team. LeBron is leading the list before Jokic, Kawhi, AD and Paul George. I understand that he's lower on the list than these guys, but he should be at least among the following names: Zion, Wiggins, Christian Wood, Ingram and Carmelo Anthony. Just like our 4 previous picks, Rudy will have to rely on the coaches to include him into this year's team. It would be only the 2nd selection to the All-Star team after making it last year alongside his teammate Donovan Mitchell. He put up quite a big show last year, playing 18 minutes off the bench, scoring 21 points and grabbing 11 rebounds. Both Mitchell and Gobert's reaction after last year's All-Star game was the same. This was fun, but the only thing that matters is a championship. The Jazz want to win this season, and they have started the season very strong. Winning 21 games out of 26, they're top of the West at the moment, leading the Lakers and the Clippers. But their only focus is the playoffs. Last season they exited in round 1 against the Nuggets in 7 games, and it all came down to a last-second attempt of Mike Conley. It was a major blow for the Jazz, and they're after some revenge. Gobert, Mitchell, and especially Conley are playing really well, and Jordan Clarkson is the number 1 contender for the 6th Man of the Year, averaging over 17 points a game coming off the bench. Keep an eye on the Jazz this year. This is our All-NBA Team of the Week. Please share our podcast and give us 5 stars. If you have any questions, you can contact the show on a24office@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Ballers out.